Okay, so you can either go around the hand first,
sorry.
the metacarpals, or you can do the fifth to the mid-wrist first. Either one, because your first one is your hand. So if you want to go along with the sheet, you do
around
the hand first. Then the one that's the fifth metacarpal to the mid-wrist is always going to be consistent. That's on the top of the page.
I don't have that page.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this one right up here, fifth MPC to mid-wrist. Now, if it will be easier for you guys, and I did talk to Anne-Marie too, hand up so that you can use like one of the folds, one of the creases in your wrist as your guideline. So it's mid-wrist will be one of those creases. I would pick the middle one because that's going to be a good place to measure.
Oh, the middle piece.
Yeah. So if you bend the hand up, you'll have that little crease in the middle there. So if you bend up, you have like a little crease right in there.
Okay.
So that might be easier than trying to find it on the other side for you guys. So if we're gonna do like Erin was mentioning, just keep your arm up. We'll do the hand first because that's gonna be the first measurement on your sheet each day. So you just do right around. So on her, she's 18.8 there. Then from the fifth
to the end of it, right? Yeah.
Yep, to the mid wrist here.
Okay.
She's 10. So right there, I'd make my first dot. Now this 10 is going to be the same every single time. So that's your, on the top here, that's never going to change. So this would go here, 10. And then this is 18.8.
Where'd you put 18.8?
And it's going to be the hand.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So from there, go up the arm. We won't go all the way up. We'll just go, you would technically go all the way up her arm, but because of, I don't want to mess up her. Sure.
The NLN requires a minimum of 6 measurements.
Oh, we're doing 8, sorry.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? 8 and then 16. Is that where you start them off?
8, 16, what is it, 24, and then 32. And then I'd go all the way up.
Like all the way up to the shoulder?
All the way up to about here, because you can't get all the way up here, because then it won't be,
Okay, so, okay.
you won't be able to get all the way up there.
Femoral
Yeah.
head or something.
Almost like the
The
deltoid.
deltoid. Okay.
Yeah. So then your 0 would be your wrist. So that's that first mark that you made. So you go around. And she's 16 exactly, so I put 16 at that point. That one's a 4. Cool. Our next one would be 17.2. Following one is 22.8. And then 24.8. And 24.5. And then we'd probably get 2 more measurements from her. So that would be 7 measurements.
7, right. Okay, great.
Okay.
6. When you said there was a minimum of 6, I thought it was 1, 2, 3, but that's not true. It's 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then really we'd probably get another 1 or maybe 2.
1 or 2.
1, 2, then 3, 4, 5. Okay.
This one wouldn't count as a measurement.
Oh, it wouldn't?
That's
a
just
standard?
a
That's a
standard.
landmark.
Yeah.
That's going to be your landmark.
So that's
Okay.
when you go from nurse to nurse or nurse to
So
PT.
you,
we're
so
all
you
on the
know
same
exactly
page.
where you're going.
That's a landmark thing, but this is a measurement. This is any kind of
Any
circumference.
circle, yeah, circle for
The landmark is this one?
No, the
No, this
landmark's
one.
going to
That
be
one.
this one.
Metatarsal, yeah.
For the mid-wrist.
Who does it 9? I mean, how did you, like it says when you go all the way down. You know what I mean?
To 9.
Yeah.
I just did that because
Oh, I
Just
didn't know.
in case
Okay,
someone
okay.
no,
has
I
the
made up the
long
chart.
arm.
Okay, okay, like
Somebody's
monkey arms.
super
Okay.
or you know, if it's
Michael
a male,
Phelps.
if it's a man,
Yeah.
If it's a man
If it's
or
a man, they're
it-
lots
or
taller
Yeah,
a
we
and
leg.
can
they're-
do man. Okay.
If you
Okay.
have
I
someone
didn't know. I
with
just
a
wanted to
leg.
ask. Sure. I'm glad you're doing this. Oh, leg. Oh, don't get me. I mean, we do treat people, but I guess we're not concerned right now about legs. We're just more concerned about the breasts.
correct.
So the very top, fifth metacarpal to mid wrist,
today.
10 above the
Yes,
chart.
correct.
That's my landmark.
That's
Yes.
going to be
Yes.
your consistent.
That's
That
when-
will never.
That's when
that one
I
will
get a
never change.
patient. You do this first. You do this 3 weeks post-op. Patient goes through chemo, whatever. I get the patient. I can look at your thing and make sure that's that same 10
Okay,
That's what
because
she did
it's
for
going right. That's never going to change on the patient.
okay,
Right.
But if you have whopping edema, this will change. This will change, but
Mhm.
that's never going to change.
okay.
This one will change, but this one will change.
And you know, the most obvious is usually in the hand. They'll
This
have
one.
That's where they see
And
it
then
first.
this
yeah,
one,
they'll feel
yeah,
it usually with like fingers when
Yeah.
they're putting rings on, or if they're putting on like a tight shirt and they just feel like it's even
Tighter
tighter
than
now.
Mhm.
Or the heaviness is usually what they feel first, which is just they feel like it's waterlogged, and that's like the latency stage where they're not able to like it's starting to come, but it's not visible at this point.
Because it can
Well-
hurt.
What are you guys
Yes.
doing about like when you have? Because we've had patients that have had actually lymphedema like in their breast, and they've actually had. I've had patients that have had like
Yes.
special bras.
They do make special bras. They're usually all custom.
Yeah.
And they're very expensive. Sometimes if they have it and it's right after surgery, we usually recommend like a sports bra and then put some padding in there just to put pressure because
Right.
it does the
Okay.
same as like a just to see how they respond to that because it's very hard to mimic one of those really supportive bras to see if it's even good and it's heavy so it doesn't breathe either.
And like tight. My
it's
God,
it's very tight on them.
that's the only way to get.
I can't remember the make. I had a lady who
There's Medi makes them.
there's one.
Jokes.
I think it's like a B. It's like they're pretty. They're like feminine kind of. I can't remember
really?
the name of them. Yeah, it's terrible. She was a patient of Dr. Greenberg, so I have to look.
So really, the purpose of this, of us learning this together, is just to recognize if the patient's having symptoms of lymphedema, or try and. Really, it's almost too late, right, Kylie, when they start showing symptoms. But
It's not too late once they start showing symptoms. So stage 1 is where we want to get them in a garment and get them started with treatment because that's when they're starting to have this, it's called reversible lymphedema where it will get swollen, but then with rest and elevation, it will go down. So it will spontaneously reverse.
So you want to get it early.
Yeah,
Catch
you
it
want to
early.
get it early. So if you get it in the latency stage where they're complaining about this heaviness, you get them in a garment. Sometimes that's all they need is to
So,
get into.
but
the
our
garment.
role is to recognize that it's happening and to make the referral.
Right.
That's really what we're about to do. We're not about the garments or the compression or anything like that. It's really just to get them over to the specialist. Also, when the patient is referred to the lymphedema specialist, it's not about, or us even, just for measurements. Like if one of the physicians says, please measure this patient, she's complaining of symptoms. It's not about us screening that patient again. It's really just about us doing the measurements and referring. It's not about, because that's happened in the past. The nurses have just started screening all over again and saying, well, no, you really don't need to have this done. But honestly, the patient's already screened by the physician. Our job is to just move them along to the specialist. Okay. You guys have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, my concern still is how we're going to pass information on. I mean, because there's always still a disconnect between breast center and the medical oncology as far as radiation goes. I mean, that's my concern. Is
So
trying to
what-
get the continuity of the
So what they're
measurements.
gonna
and so forth.
do on BBR4, when they're finished up there, is scan it into the chart is it Mosaic that you use?
Mhm.
Scan it into Mosaic. Or into the Cantor Drive. I'm not sure which one Deanna's talked about doing that. Both of them, but I'm not sure which one we've decided on so far.
Okay.
So that you'll have access to it. We'll all have access to it at all times.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
so there's continuity. We can refer back to the initial measurement. The initial weight is important also. So surgical date, the initial weight, and the fifth metacarpal to the wrist measurement is the most important. And that's important that we are all able to access available to see it and just to continue making those measurements or comparing those measurements.
And then whenever they come in, taking their weight is important too, because we want to see if they're gaining any weight and if there's an increase in the arm girth and if it's different changes from the first measurements.
Can they have significant weight change just from lymphedema? Is that like an indication? Kind of like cardiac? That's like a sign?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
With the patient education, what do you tell them about flying?
The National Lymphedema says to, it won't hurt to wear a garment. They don't say you have to wear a garment, but it's recommended. Basically.
Even if you're
even if you're not even in the
just
stages.
if you're at risk.
Yeah, I've heard of some lady who said I had no symptoms prior, went on a plane, because when you go up in the air, you have less pressure exerting on you. So the garment itself is pressure exerting on you. So if you think about it as you're down on earth, you don't have a garment, your arm swells up. But then you go up in the air and you weren't swollen before, you're gonna.
I was talking to.
So what does that mean? Yes or no?
Yes.
Well, actually, there's no research that
Says.
that justifies that. I was talking to Dr. Kathleen Francis. She's a lymphedema specialist up in Barnabas Health, and she said there's really no research that documents that it does do any good, but it can't hurt. So they recommend that all the patients wear it.
I tell them if they're gonna fly.
You tell them what?
I tell patients in my education that if they're gonna fly, that they have to have a garment and maybe where to go.
Right.
And
So,
where would
and
they
if the-
get the garment? Just like at CVS or? do they have to get
Stevenson's,
Stevens,
actually
both.
Community Surgical down in Toms River is very good with their off the shelf and their measuring. She's very good. She'll actually even come out and measure someone at a lymphedema site too.
Stevens drugs, I think, will help you too.
Yeah, and
They'll measure and give you advice.
Sunray
It'll help, yeah.
in Middletown.
Does it too?
Yeah.
They're still there? I thought they went out.
No, they're there. Oh, really?
And they also have night off the shelf garments too. So it's the only one around.
Take measures.
And this can happen at any time.
Anytime. They've seen it up to 30 years later.
Well,
Right.
Yeah, and I've seen it just like one patch on the arm. I've seen it on one patch on the hand, just up here, one finger. So it's not the entire arm or the entire quadrant. It could be anywhere.
The most common is distal. When we see it more proximal, we usually have them go back to the doctor just to rule out any malignancy, because that usually is more the proximal area.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So usually it's the hand, the wrist, the forearm. You see it more so, but you'll see it sometimes up in here. But we do send them back sometimes when it is more proximal, just to rule out anything like a DVT too.
Right.
The most common time though is it within the first 3 months to a year
Yeah.
after surgery.
Yeah, that's the most common. But as we age, there's also the mechanical load that they start to wear. So you took out some, so it's already functioning at a deficit. So as we get older, things stop working, and the lymph nodes are what is it called?
Exception.
Yeah, exception. There we go.
So are you going to supply,
We're
we're going to have supply these on the unit to hand out?
Yeah, they're going to go in our surgical packet, the one that you give out, Kath, just so
Okay.
that it's like pre-surgical information, education for them.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we can reiterate post-surgery too.
We'll have to get copies of that too.
Yeah, I'll send them all to
Oh,
you.
you're gonna send them all?
Yeah.
I know we have the plastic, what you brought us,
Right.
which is nice and plastic.
Yeah. So that's just, it's easy. That's from the National Lymphedema Network site.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have all position statements on there too, the National Lymphedema Network, about exercise, about healthy habits, about the training for lymphedema
You know, I thought that was interesting because years ago, and I had read an article from ONS, it was a short one, Because years ago, we used to tell patients you can't lift more than 5 or 10 pounds ever. And now they say exercise, starting it slowly and building it up, is actually better
Yeah.
for the drainage.
Than not doing
Right,
anything.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just the repetitive exercise, like an arm bike,
Yeah.
would be contradicted.
So a patient could actually go on this site and learn even more.
Yeah, there's a patient information. There's a part for patients, part for professionals. Then you can register with them, and they'll email you and stuff like that.
That guy has to do that right now with that noise.
And I believe there's
I find
discussion
him, but I couldn't
boards.
find him.
Yeah, I think they're up in the bathroom
I think you're right.
upstairs.
So how are you guys operationalizing this with the speed RNs?
Surgical nurse.
Uh-huh.
Nurse is on BBR4. The breast nurse will do it. She's not here today, but she'll I guess have to take a look at the video, and she'll be doing it up there the first time they come. And then it says every 4 to 6 months after that. But if they're symptomatic, then they'll start getting measured every time they come.
Right. But the staff nurses on your surgical floors are going to be trained.
Kathy's a staff nurse.
Oh,
Kathy's a
staff.
surgical nurse.
And Joyce.
And Joyce, yeah. So yes, they'll do it. Yeah. And Eileen, and then Becky or Claire in radiation.
All in the outpatient department, nothing, not, you know.
Right. Not in the inpatient, but
Right,
all in
all
outpatient.
outpatient,
Right.
all
Okay.
outpatient.
Because I'm just figuring out we have so many units.
If a patient's admitted and they're showing signs of lymphedema or symptoms, would one of us go to the floor to measure them?
Or maybe a physical therapy referral would be
They
more
have a
effective.
consult.
Yeah.
They have a consult with
yeah.
physical therapy?
Only when they're in your
Inpatient,
unit.
Yeah.
Only
makes
when they're in
sense.
your unit, Kath, and
Okay.
in RT or in Medonc, they'll get measured there.
Yeah, I would say
As
that would be a better way
outpatients.
to do it, have them
Yeah.
directly see them.
Yeah, that would be able to do that.
And do we have your contact information?
I have everything,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
And I'll give it to
We're doing this
everybody.
again.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Colleen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the best person to reach out to, because sometimes I'm not here, is Robin Sipp. She's
I'll put that,
the
I'll
manager.
give you all
Yeah.
of the information, yeah.